October 2nd, 1987. Boston's Back Bay sleeps beneath a moonlit sky, its quiet streets draped in shadows and silence. But within minutes, that peace will be shattered. A simple 911 call from an apartment building will spiral into one of the most violent and tragic confrontations in Boston police history. And by the end of it, 2 officers will be gunned down, a ghost will vanish into the night, and the largest manhunt in decades will begin. Before we unravel the twisted path of lies, weapons, and hidden identities that led to justice, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This story is just beginning, and every second will keep you on the edge of your seat. Back Bay, Boston. Midnight. Most of the city has settled into sleep, but inside a brick apartment building, a heated argument rages. Meredith Falcone is trying to force her cousin out. He's threatened her, scared her, and now she wants him gone. "I'm calling the police," she warns. "Go ahead. See what happens." At 12:30 a.m., Meredith dials 911. Her voice is tight with fear. 911 operator, 911. This call is recorded. What is your emergency? He's threatening me. He won't leave. Please send someone fast. The operator dispatches 2 patrol units. To the officers on duty, it sounds like a routine domestic disturbance, an everyday call. Something they handle dozens of times a month. But this time, it will be different. Responding are officers George Torres and Chris Rogers. They pull up in front of the apartment and buzz the intercom. Meredith answers, "My buzzer doesn't work. Use another apartment's buzzer. Please hurry." In the background, they hear loud yelling, and something else. A scuffle. A crash. Something's happening. Minutes later, backup arrives. Officers William Kennedy and Roy Sergey. None of the tenants respond to their buzzing. That's when they decide to split up. Standard protocol: 2 officers head to the back, 2 stay out front. Torres and Rogers head around the building. They find a small alley. Something catches Torres' eye, a man trying to hide in the shadows behind the building. He fits the rough description Meredith gave. Could be her cousin. Torres climbs over a padlocked fence and confronts him. "Come here. Let's talk." The man moves slowly at first, playing it cool. But then, he runs. Torres grabs him. Starts to frisk him. That's when the man turns and shoves him violently. And then, everything goes white. Gunfire erupts. Torres is shot. Rogers reaches for his gun but can't get a clean shot. The suspect keeps firing. A bullet slams into Officer Roy Sergey. Kennedy draws his weapon and fires at the fleeing suspect, who vanishes into the darkness. The scene is chaos. 2 officers wounded. 1 fading fast. Radios crackle with desperate calls for backup. "Officer, over radio, officer down. We need us now." Sirens scream. The peaceful Back Bay turns into a storm of red and blue lights. Torres is losing blood, fast. "I felt the burning," he would later recall. "I knew something went through my lung." Sergey lies still, barely breathing. Backup officers swarm the scene.
Détective arrive.
The entire district is locked down. A cop killer is on the loose. Everyone knows what that means. It's war. In the emergency room, surgeons fight to stabilize George Torres and Roy Sergey. One officer is clinging to life. The other is barely conscious. As blood pools on gurneys, tension thickens in the waiting room. Their brothers in blue want answers. Detectives begin processing the scene. Bullet casings scatter the alleyway. A trail of blood leads nowhere. A clip from a 9mm SIG Sour lies discarded 2 blocks away, empty. A forensic team dusts it for prints. They lift one partial. Not enough for an ID. Meanwhile, residents in the apartment building are interviewed. No one saw anything. No one knows anything. Many tenants are short-term renters. Names come and go. Faces change. No one even knows their neighbors. Detective James Fong of Boston PD is assigned to lead the investigation. He's determined, cold, focused. He finds something on the back fence, shoe prints. Heavy, fresh, leading up to a window on the 3rd floor. Inside the building, they find an HVAC unit with more prints. Someone jumped from that window during the escape. Someone who lived there. Someone who was hiding. It's the first break. But barely. 6 days pass. The trail is going cold. Then, the apartment manager calls. She forgot to mention one tenant. An Asian man named Mark Terra. He lived in a unit near the escape window. No one's seen him since the shooting. Police return with a warrant. Inside the unit, they find ammunition. 9mm, same caliber as the crime scene. Clothing. Military neat living. No sign of struggle. No fingerprints out of place. One thing stands out, the ceiling tiles had been moved. As if something was hidden there. They pull the rental application. Mark Terra listed a San Francisco address. Detective Fong calls the number. A man named Leon Perry answers. He claims he doesn't know Terra. Doesn't want to talk. Doesn't want to help. The call ends abruptly. Then comes the breakthrough. Officer George Torres, now recovering, is shown a photo of Mark Terra's California driver's license. He doesn't hesitate. That's him. That's the guy who shot us. With the suspect ID confirmed, Boston PD holds a press conference. Mark Terra is now wanted for the attempted murder of 2 officers. The FBI joins the investigation. But Mark Terra is a ghost. A search into his name leads nowhere. Then, something clicks. Investigators dig into the alias. The real name is Ted Atsuki. Atsuki has a record. A violent one. In 1979, he robbed a bank in Texas after first taking over a police station across the street. A war veteran. A convicted felon. Paroled. And vanished. The theory changes. This wasn't just a random shooting. Atsuki thought the police were coming for him. That night in Boston, he was armed, paranoid, and ready to kill. The FBI issues a warrant for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. Investigators learn Atsuki was planning a bank heist. He wasn't working alone. Associates were involved. The plan? Kidnap a bank manager. Strap a bomb to them. Demand vault access. Kill the witness. A former associate, Leon Perry, is finally pressured into cooperation. Under threat of losing his parole, he talks. Perry reveals Atsuki stored bombs in a San Francisco storage unit. The FBI raids it. Inside, briefcase bombs. Live. Wired to explode remotely. They detonate one in a controlled blast. Shrapnel everywhere. Lethal. Professional. Perry denies knowing about the bombs. But his fingerprints are on the box. He cracks. Perry tells agents, Atsuki called him from Dayton, Ohio, the day after the shooting. He was bleeding. Said he'd been hit. Was flying to Texas. He left his car and weapon at the Dayton airport. Perry retrieves the vehicle. Inside, the 9mm SIG Sauer. The murder weapon. He drives to Missouri and gives the gun to his father. Agents recover it. Ballistics match. So do the fingerprints on the bullets. They now have everything: the weapon, the prints, the motive, the bombs. Ted Atsuki is now on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. The break comes when a tip links Atsuki to relatives in Guadalajara, Mexico. Undercover, Perry wears a wire and travels to Matamoros to meet them. They agree to place a call. At a public phone booth, Perry finally hears Atsuki's voice. Destroy the gun. I'm robbing banks in Mexico. The call is traced. A number in Guadalajara. FBI legal attachés work with Mexican authorities. The apartment is found. A stakeout begins. 2 days later, Atsuki appears. He draws a gun. Too slow. Mexican federal police tackle him. He is arrested and handed over to the FBI. Back in the US, he is convicted of the murder of Roy Sergey and the attempted murder of George Torres. He receives life plus 20 years. Officer Torres eventually recovers and returns to duty. He retires in 1997. Roy Sergey never made it. He left behind a wife, 3 children, and a legacy honored at Boston's D14 station. Since the shooting, Boston police replaced their revolvers with 15-round semi-automatics. Bulletproof vests became mandatory, because as Torres says, there's no such thing as a routine call. March 27, 1972. Laguna Niguel, California. It's a typical Monday morning at the United California Bank. Tellers arrive, managers brew coffee, and vault staff prepare to open the bank's massive steel door. But something's wrong. The combination is correct. The tumblers fall into place. Yet the door won't budge. A call goes out to the vault company. A technician arrives and climbs above the vault to access the locking mechanism. He freezes. There's a hole in the ceiling. Not just any hole. It leads straight into the vault. Beneath it, a 6-foot pile of rubble, cement, steel, and broken dreams. The FBI is called immediately, and they soon realize this isn't just a robbery. It's a masterpiece. Special Agent Jim Conway arrives first. What he sees stuns even him. The vault has been breached from the top, explosives used with surgical precision. No alarms were triggered.
No witnesses.
No mess, aside from the explosive aftermath. Burn marks scar the rebar. A jammed screwdriver disabled the lock. Cement dust, soil, burlap, and drill bits scatter the ground. An acetylene torch was used to finish what the dynamite started. It's a mess, but an intentional one. Every item, watches, rings, personal letters, even urns containing ashes, was tossed aside. But what mattered most? Gone. 458 safe deposit boxes had been pried open. Cash, jewelry, rare coins, and bearer bonds, all vanished. The audible alarm had been disabled with liquid styrofoam. The silent alarm? Expertly bypassed. The burglars knew the system, down to the wire. They worked all weekend, from Friday night until late Sunday.
No fingerprints.
No tools left behind, except one brown glove and some busted drill bits. The only clue. Method. This wasn't amateur work. This was military-grade precision. The FBI now had to figure out not just who but how. Agents cross-check every bank job in the country with a similar method. The breakthrough comes from Ohio. The Cleveland FBI had been tracking a series of 13 similar heists. All shared traits: roof entry, alarm bypass with foam, explosives, and surgical skill. They had a name: the Youngstown Erie Bank Burglary Crew. A network of professional thieves tied to the Ohio mob. Experts in interstate crime. Dozens of known members. The FBI in Los Angeles gets the list, nearly 100 names. Now it's time to narrow it down. Flight manifests are scoured. Hours of combing through records, by hand. Eventually, 5 familiar names pop up: Emil Denzio, Harry Barber, Charles Mulligan, Charles Brockles, and Philip Christopher. All boarded flights to LA just before the heist. A 6th, James Denzio, arrived a day later. They weren't just visiting. Now with 6 suspects, agents begin tracking their movements. Interviews with cab drivers lead to an address in Southgate, California. The house belongs to Ronald Barber, brother of suspect Harry Barber. He's evasive but not helpful. And frankly, the house is too small to house all 6 men. Agents expand their search to motels. Room by room. Hotel by hotel. They get lucky at a truck stop. Emil Denzio and Charles Mulligan both stayed there. Registration cards provide license plate numbers, one of which leads back to Ronald Barber's address. They now have solid surveillance. Meanwhile, a name comes up in motel call logs: Earl Dawson. A former Marine. Tied to explosives. Known associate of Charles Mulligan. Agents confront Dawson. At first, he resists. But a brotherhood bond kicks in. You served. So did we. Help us. Dawson cracks. He admits Mulligan and others held a meeting in his house. Paid him to leave for a few hours. Then comes the game changer. Mulligan left a car in Dawson's garage. Still there. Before they can check the car, the phone rings. Dawson mouths the word Mulligan. Agents scramble. Dawson lets them eavesdrop from another room. Mulligan is nervous. Wants to retrieve the car. Asks if the FBI has been around. Dawson says no. They set up a meeting at the Walnut Room bar. Agents prep for arrest. They also want to protect Dawson. A fake arrest is planned to cover his cooperation. Mulligan shows. Dawson plays it cool. When Mulligan leaves to get the car, agents move in. He is arrested on the spot. Inside the car, drills, torches, hammers, gloves, and even stolen coins. Cement dust matches that of the vault. Back in the lab, evidence pours in. Fingerprints from the tools and Dawson's dishwasher, never turned on, match 5 of the 7 suspects. Investigators check condo rentals near the bank. One manager recalls renting a unit to Harry and Ronald Barber. They were supposed to stay 3 months. Left after 3 weeks, the day of the burglary. The unit is wiped clean. Almost. One mistake, they loaded the dishwasher, but didn't turn it on. The FBI lab pulls prints from dirty dishes. More matches. It's enough to pursue arrests. Meanwhile, agents recover more phone records. One leads to a real estate agency used to rent the condo. Another, to Dawson's garage. Another, to a neighbor who found a cooler buried in his backyard. Inside, nearly $100,000. Tips lead agents to a field near property owned by James Denzio. They dig. Nothing. Then, a footlocker. Full of cash. Then another. Total recovery, millions in bills and bearer bonds. Serial numbers match those stolen from the vault. The dominoes start falling. More suspects are arrested: Emile and James Denzio, Philip Christopher, and Charles Brocklez. All are caught with stolen money. Only the Barber brothers remain. Then, Emile Denzio gets cocky. Tries to fabricate an alibi. He claims he was in Vegas with a prostitute. The FBI plays along. An undercover agent poses as a fixer. Provides Denzio with fake receipts, fingerprints, and names. At trial, the fixer testifies. Game over. All suspects but Harry Barber are in custody. The trials begin. The evidence is overwhelming. Fingerprints, cash, tools, confessions. Emile Denzio is convicted. So are the others. Months later, Ronald Barber is found in New York. Arrested and convicted. Harry Barber disappears. 8 years pass. A woman in Pennsylvania calls the FBI. Says her friend is dating a man who confessed to the heist. His name? Harry Barber. Agents move in. He's working at a campground. Harry Barber. FBI. You're under arrest. Case closed. The United California Bank Heist remains the largest bank burglary in U.S. history. Over $8 million was stolen. Most of it was recovered. All 7 suspects were convicted. But more than the money, the case proved something else. Even the most perfect crime leaves cracks. And when it does, the FBI will find a way in. September 21, 1976. Washington, D.C. The capital is bathed in morning sunlight as workers head to their offices and embassies prepare for the day. Among them is Orlando Letelier, a former Chilean ambassador, exiled diplomat, and one of the most outspoken critics of the Pinochet regime. At 9:30 a.m., Letelier drives down Embassy Row in a blue Chevrolet Chevelle. In the passenger seat is his young colleague and assistant, 25-year-old Ronnie Moffett. Her husband, Michael, rides in the back.
Sudan-Lee, en explosion.
A thunderous blast tears through the car, turning it into a mangled inferno. Letelier's legs are blown off. Shrapnel rips through Moffat's chest. Her husband is thrown clear and survives. Bystanders scream. Smoke billows into the air. Within minutes, FBI agents arrive. Special Agent Carter Cornick is one of the first to reach the crime scene. It looked like a battlefield, he later recalls. Glass, flesh, blood, and silence. Ronnie Moffett is still alive, barely. She gasps for air on the sidewalk. Medics try to stabilize her. Letelier is already gone. His mutilated body lies across the seat, his last words lost in the roar. Ronnie Moffat dies minutes later at the hospital. The news spreads quickly. A former foreign ambassador has been murdered in broad daylight, on American soil. And his assistant, a US citizen, has died beside him. The political implications are seismic. Letelier wasn't just any critic. He was a symbol of resistance against Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet. From his post in Washington, Letelier had lobbied aggressively against Chile's military regime, exposing human rights violations, disappearances, torture, and economic abuses. He had recently succeeded in convincing the Dutch government to cut off loans to Chile. It was a direct hit to Pinochet's international image and finances. Now Letelier was dead. Suspicion immediately turns toward Chile's secret police, the DINA. The agency had a reputation for ruthlessness and for eliminating political threats, even abroad. As pressure mounts, the US government faces a diplomatic nightmare. If it is proven that a foreign government carried out an assassination on American soil, it could lead to international outrage, or worse, war. But the FBI doesn't deal in politics. They deal in facts. And the facts point to something terrifying. This wasn't just murder. It was a state-sponsored act of terrorism. The FBI activates one of the largest investigative teams in its history. Over 150 agents are deployed to Washington. Forensic specialists, bomb technicians, linguists, intelligence analysts, and foreign liaisons all join the case. The FBI treats the blast site like sacred ground. Every piece of debris is catalogued. Every bolt, wire, and metal shard is bagged and labeled. Under the car, they find the origin point, a remote detonated explosive device, expertly crafted and surgically placed under the driver's seat. It was military grade, designed to kill only the front seat occupant. Ronnie Moffat was collateral damage. The bomb was radio-activated. The killer had likely watched from nearby, waited, triggered it at the exact moment. It was the work of a professional. The FBI begins tracing the bomb components. Wiring, chemical residues, even the tape used to secure the charge. A break comes when they link parts of the device to explosives used in a failed assassination attempt months earlier against another Chilean exile. That attempt had been traced back to agents of DINA. Now, the noose tightens. US intelligence begins cooperating with foreign agencies. Surveillance records, passport entries, alias databases, hidden safe houses. A name rises to the surface: Michael Townley, an American expatriate.
Trained.
Recruited by the Chilean secret police. Townley is known to specialize in car bombs and political assassinations. He was in DC around the time of the attack. But he didn't act alone. Another name emerges: General Manuel Contreras, head of DINA. A man who answers only to Pinochet. In a stunning twist, the evidence points all the way to the top of the Chilean government. It was official policy. Letelier was targeted, executed, silenced. The FBI and the Department of Justice now face a new challenge: bringing foreign killers to justice without sparking an international crisis. Townley is eventually located in hiding. After pressure from the US government, Chile agrees to extradite him. In return, he receives a deal: full cooperation in exchange for a reduced sentence. Townley admits to orchestrating the assassination. He provides blueprints of the bomb, name operatives, and confirms the order came directly from DINA. He is placed in witness protection after serving 5 years. But justice is far from complete. General Contreras remains in Chile for years, protected by political allies. Only in the 1990s, after regime changes, is he convicted in Chile for his role in the murder of Orlando Letelier. The United States government officially classifies the assassination as an act of state-sponsored terrorism. The case becomes a turning point for the FBI, for US foreign policy, and for every diplomat who ever believed they were safe on American soil. In 1990, Letelier's name was etched into the wall of the Institute for Policy Studies in DC, where he worked. His legacy lives on through countless human rights advocates who followed his example. And every year, on the anniversary of the bombing, flowers appear along Embassy Row, to honor not just the man who died but the idea he stood for. That no tyrant, no matter how far away, can silence the truth. If this chilling true story shocked you, just wait. More stories of justice, deception, and betrayal are coming. Subscribe now, tap the notification bell, and join us as we dive deeper into the FBI's most riveting cases. Justice has a voice, and you're listening to it.